Howdy, welcome to part 4 of chapter 1. Here we are going to discuss stakeholders, groups and individuals who are invested or influenced or affected by the firm. So these can be individuals, they can be groups and organizations that are primary stakeholders. These people can affect development of the firm's vision and mission. They are affected by the strategic outcomes achieved by the firm. They can have enforceable claims on the firm's performance and are influential when in control of critical or valued resources. And pay attention to that point, that stakeholders are most influential when in control of critical or valued resources. So there are 3 categories of stakeholders: capital market, product market, and organizational stakeholders. Capital market stakeholders would be individuals like shareholders and lenders that have different levels of influence, different preferences, and expectations on risk and return. And as an example to illustrate this, think about how shareholders and bankers might compare in their expectations and motivations. The banker likely wants to have a safe investment that will be paid back. The shareholder, on the other hand, is looking for enhanced wealth. They would want the firm to take more risk in the hope that their investment can grow, because there is no upside, or there's no limit to the upside that can come as the company does well for the shareholders, where the bankers really have a lot more concern on preservation of their investment. Next, we look at product market stakeholders. So with these, we have suppliers, customers, host communities, and unions. And these different groups can also have different influence on the organization. Suppliers, of course, are necessary, and customers critical to the success of a firm. But think about the host communities. There are some organizations that might be the primary employer in a town, or might have different relationships with their host communities. And they need to be cautious and they need to be aware of those things. Unions, essentially suppliers of labor, are also important for firms to pay attention to. If a union decides to go on strike, you would find that the firm would not be doing well and might have greater influence in a situation like that on what the firm ultimately chooses to do. So product market stakeholders may rely on organizations, and sometimes they can also provide directors to serve on the board of directors. Think of a CEO of a supplier firm that might have good insight and motivation for the firm to do well. Next, we have organizational stakeholders. So responsibilities of strategic leaders for development and effective use of the firm's human capital will look at things like the education and skills of employees, organizational culture, and ethical work environment. And these are things that sometimes need to have extra effort, extra work put into them to improve a culture, or sometimes to improve a reputation by making a company a more ethical place to work. They will look at the strategic goals and global standards of the organization. And they may use international assignments. They may train people or help develop their employees through international assignments. I had a boss at a previous position in a corporate job where she was actually sent, she left our team and was sent to Hong Kong by the company to help oversee some of our operations there, with the hope that she would develop and learn, and that when she came back to the United States, that she would be a more effective and a better prepared leader to help the organization long term. So question 4 is, which stakeholder group do you think is the most important and why? I want you to really think this through, and then I want you to engage with others and talk about some of the different answers you might see and why we might see differences.